The first signs came without warning. Astronomers tracking deep space anomalies noticed unusual gravitational disturbances weeks before the invasion. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, chief scientist at the Global Space Observation Center, remembered the precise moment everything changed. Her monitoring station in the Chilean mountain complex detected an impossible pattern of quantum fluctuations that defied all known physical laws. "Something's coming," she whispered to her research team, her fingers racing across holographic displays. The quantum signatures were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Massive energy concentrations began to coalesce at the edge of the solar system, forming a wavelength pattern that seemed to pulse with an alien intelligence. In the sprawling underground command centers of major world governments, military strategists and political leaders watched with growing unease. Satellite networks began to fail, communication lines became disrupted, and strange electromagnetic pulses swept across continents. The world held its breath, sensing something monumental was about to happen. The Krell-30 ships emerged from subspace like nightmares given form. Crystalline vessels of impossible geometry, they were living machines that defied human understanding. Each ship was larger than entire cities, their surfaces shifting and pulsing with an organic complexity that made traditional spacecraft look like primitive toys. They moved with a grace that suggested both technological superiority and a deeply alien intelligence. Major Jack Harper watched from a reinforced military bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains as the first wave hit. The invasion wasn't a traditional assault. It was a systematic dismantling of human infrastructure. Quantum disruption fields disabled electrical systems, communication networks collapsed, and entire urban centers went dark within minutes. Military defenses, considered the most advanced in human history, crumbled like sandcastles against a tsunami. New York was the first major city to fall. Massive biomechanical walker units emerged from the crystalline ships, their legs moving with an impossible combination of mechanical precision and organic fluidity. They swept through streets, demolishing buildings and infrastructure with calculated efficiency. Civilian evacuation systems, designed for natural disasters, proved utterly inadequate against the alien technology. In Tokyo, the invasion took a different form. Quantum manipulation fields began to alter the very fabric of reality around the city. Buildings seemed to dissolve and reform. People found themselves momentarily displaced, and communication became impossible. The Krell-30 weren't just conquering. They were fundamentally reshaping human environments. Beijing experienced a more terrifying approach. The alien invaders used advanced molecular disruption technologies that could selectively neutralize human technology while leaving organic life intact. Entire military installations simply ceased to exist, their complex machinery turning to dust, while soldiers watched in horror. Communications specialist Maya Chen huddled in a Seattle underground bunker, her hands working furiously on a modified communication device. Around her, dozens of survivors watched news feeds that flickered between static and brief, terrifying glimpses of the invasion. Military channels were silent. Government broadcasts had gone dark. The world was being systematically isolated. What the Krell-30 didn't understand was the fundamental nature of human resilience. Each moment of destruction, each system that fell, created new opportunities for adaptation. Where traditional military structures would have collapsed, individual human creativity began to find alternative solutions. In research laboratories, universities, and hidden communication centers around the world, people were already beginning to analyze the invasion. Every piece of alien technology that fell, every disruption field that was observed, became a potential weapon of resistance. Humans had always been exceptional at turning disadvantages into opportunities. Dr. Rodriguez continued her observations, her scientific mind cutting through the panic. The quantum signatures of the Krell-30 technology were complex but not incomprehensible. There were patterns, however alien, that could be studied, understood, and potentially exploited. Major Harper assembled a small team of survivors with diverse skills. Military personnel, Scientists, engineers, and communication specialists began to share information through improvised networks. They understood something the Krell theory did not. Human strength was never about individual power, but about collective adaptation. As the first day of invasion drew to a close, the world looked defeated. Massive alien ships dominated the skies. Major cities lay in ruins. Governments had been neutralized, but beneath the surface, in underground bunkers, hidden research facilities, and makeshift resistance centers, something was brewing. Humanity was not finished. In fact, the real fight was just beginning. The underground bunker in Seattle felt like a nerve center of human survival. Maya Chen's communication setup was a masterpiece of improvised technology. Salvaged computer parts, modified radio equipment, and custom-built signal boosters created a lifeline that defied the Krell theory's communication jamming. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor hunched over a makeshift workstation, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces cobbled together from broken alien technology and human electronics. Quantum physics had always been his passion, but now it was humanity's potential salvation. The Krell theory had made a critical mistake. They viewed technology as a fixed system, while humans saw it as a flexible puzzle to be solved. "Look at this," Kapoor muttered, projecting a complex holographic model of the alien communication network. Streams of quantum data swirled like living light, revealing intricate patterns that most would consider incomprehensible. But to Kapoor, patterns were language. And language could be understood, manipulated, broken. Across the country, similar scenes of resistance were taking shape. In an abandoned research facility in the Nevada desert, a group of former military intelligence officers and cutting-edge computer scientists had established their own base of operations. Led by Captain Sarah Rodriguez, they were systematically collecting and analyzing every fragment of alien technology that could be recovered. Rodriguez understood something fundamental about human survival. While the Krell theory saw humans as a monolithic species to be conquered, she recognized the true strength of humanity: its diversity, adaptability, and unexpected connections. "We're not looking to fight their war," she explained to her team. "We're going to fight our own way." Each team member brought a unique skill set. Marcus Wong, a former cybersecurity expert, was developing methods to infiltrate the alien communication networks. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Sarah, analyzed the molecular structure of captured alien tech, looking for weaknesses. In the underground networks, a new form of resistance was emerging. Amateur radio operators, computer hackers, and communication specialists began sharing information through increasingly sophisticated methods. They used old technologies the Krell theory considered primitive: shortwave radio, mesh networks, even carrier pigeons equipped with miniature communication devices. Dr. Kapoor's breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Studying the quantum signatures of the Krell theory technology, he discovered a fundamental flaw in their communication system. The aliens relied on a hyper-efficient, but ultimately rigid quantum communication network. Their technology assumed perfect predictability, something humans could never provide. "It's like they're playing chess," Kapoor explained to Maya, "while we're playing something they don't even recognize as a game." The first successful infiltration happened almost by accident. A small team led by Marcus Wong managed to capture a damaged Krell theory communication module during a scavenging mission. Instead of treating it as an impenetrable alien device, they approached it with pure human creativity. Working in shifts, the team began to map the module's quantum communication pathways. They discovered something remarkable. The module had built-in redundancy systems that could be exploited. By introducing random noise patterns, they could temporarily blind and confuse the alien network. Sarah Rodriguez saw the potential immediately. "This isn't just about defense," she told her team. "This is about turning their strength into a weakness." Global communication networks began to reform in unexpected ways. Where traditional military and government structures had failed, grassroots networks began to emerge. Scientists, engineers, former military personnel, and ordinary citizens started sharing critical information about the alien invaders. In Tokyo, a group of robotics engineers began modifying industrial machinery to create makeshift defensive weapons. In Mumbai, computer scientists developed encryption methods that could bypass alien communication jammers. In Rio de Janeiro, medical researchers started analyzing the physiological data of captured alien biological systems. The Krell theory had expected a straightforward conquest. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that refused to be categorized, controlled, or defeated. Every system they tried to suppress gave birth to new, unexpected forms of resistance. Maya Chen's communication network expanded daily. What started as a few scattered signals became a global web of resistance. Information, hope, and human creativity flowed through channels the aliens couldn't comprehend. As the second week of invasion approached, something was becoming clear. The Krell theory hadn't conquered humanity. They had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that turned challenge into opportunity, destruction into innovation. The real war was just beginning. The abandoned semiconductor factory on the outskirts of Seattle became the most important research facility on the planet. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor's team worked with an intensity that bordered on obsession. The captured Krell theory communication module sat at the center of their makeshift laboratory, a crystalline artifact that pulsed with alien intelligence. "We're not trying to understand it," Kapoor explained to Maya Chen, who was documenting every breakthrough. "We're trying to make it misunderstand us." Their approach was uniquely human, where alien scientists would have approached the module with rigid methodological precision. Kapoor's team treated it like an intricate puzzle. They brought together experts from seemingly unrelated fields. Quantum physicists worked alongside musicians, computer engineers collaborated with linguistic experts, and neural network specialists shared theories with improvisational artists. Major Sarah Rodriguez arrived with a team of special operations veterans. They brought something the scientific team hadn't expected: practical experience in adaptive problem-solving. One former Navy SEAL, Michael Chen, had developed a reputation for unconventional thinking during counterterrorism operations. His approach was simple: if something doesn't work, do something completely unexpected. The breakthrough came during what seemed like a moment of complete failure. After weeks of intensive research, the team had produced nothing but frustration. The communication module remained an enigma, its quantum circuits seemingly impenetrable. Then, during a late-night brainstorming session, something remarkable happened. Elena Rodriguez, a neural network specialist, was playing an improvised musical piece on an old synthesizer. The seemingly random notes created complex interference patterns that caught Dr. Kapoor's attention. As the music played, the communication module began to exhibit strange behaviors, subtle quantum fluctuations that didn't match its original programming. "Stop," Kapoor commanded, his eyes wide with excitement. "Play that again." The team discovered that the module's quantum communication network could be temporarily disrupted by introducing specific sound frequencies. It was as if the alien technology had a fundamental weakness: it couldn't handle true randomness. Michael Chen brought a different perspective. "It's like the module expects a certain type of input," he said, "but what if we give it something it can't predict?" They began developing a device that could generate quantum-level random interference. It wasn't about breaking the alien technology. It was about making it uncertain. The Krell theory's entire technological system was built on predictability. Humanity's strength had always been its ability to be unpredictable. The first field test came unexpectedly. A Krell theory reconnaissance drone was scanning a refugee settlement in the Rocky Mountains. As it approached, Maya Chen activated the prototype quantum disruption device. The results were spectacular. The drone's systems flickered, its quantum communication network collapsing into confusion. Word spread through the resistance networks. What had seemed impossible was now a potential weapon. Research teams around the world began replicating the approach, each adding their own unique twist. In Tokyo, A team of robotics engineers modified industrial sound equipment to generate quantum disruption frequencies. In Mumbai, computer scientists developed encryption methods that could exploit the newly discovered weakness. In Rio de Janeiro, medical researchers analyzed how the disruption might affect alien biological systems. The Krell began to notice something was changing. Their perfect, predictable conquest was becoming anything but predictable. Reports from invasion zones showed increasing incidents of technological malfunction, communication disruptions, and unexplained system failures. Major Rodriguez understood the psychological impact. "We're not just fighting," she told her team. "We're showing them that humanity cannot be controlled." The communication module became something more than a piece of alien technology. It was a symbol of human potential, proof that creativity could overcome seemingly insurmountable technological barriers. As the research continued, Dr. Kapoor reflected on what they had discovered. The Krell had assumed technology was about perfection. Humans knew better. Technology was about adaptation, about finding unexpected solutions to impossible problems. The first real weapon against the invasion wasn't a gun or a missile. It was human imagination. And they were just getting started. Maya Chen's communication network had become something extraordinary. What began as a desperate attempt to connect survivors now stretched beyond Earth's boundaries, reaching into the depths of space through a combination of human ingenuity and salvaged alien technology. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Rodriguez discovered hidden quantum communication bands within the captured Krell module, frequencies that suggested a vast, interconnected galactic communication network. More importantly, these frequencies carried the echoes of other civilizations' distress. "We're not alone," Rodriguez whispered, her fingers tracing the complex quantum signatures. "And we're not the first to suffer." The communication team worked tirelessly, developing translation algorithms that could decode the fragmented signals. Each breakthrough revealed a heartbreaking pattern. The Krell weren't just invaders, they were systematic oppressors who had conquered multiple civilizations across the galaxy. Messages began to emerge from the quantum noise, fragments of stories from species that had been subjugated for generations. The Zornak, a crystalline race from the Andromeda cluster. The fluid-based intelligence of the Merkelli ocean worlds. The silicon-based life forms of the Obsidian reaches. Each civilization had a story of loss, of systematic oppression, of hope crushed beneath the Krell technological might. Major Sarah Rodriguez saw the potential immediately. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," she told her team. "This is about liberation." The resistance began to transform. No longer was it simply a human endeavor. It became a galactic collaboration. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor developed advanced translation protocols that allowed for more than just communication. They created a platform for shared knowledge, for collective problem-solving. The Zornak were the first to respond in a meaningful way. Their communication was initially cryptic, mathematical patterns that seemed more like complex musical compositions than traditional language. But humanity had become experts at finding meaning in the unexpected. Michael Chen, the former Navy SEAL, led a team that began decoding these intricate transmissions. What they discovered was revolutionary. The Zornak had developed theoretical methods of disrupting Krell technology decades ago, but had never been able to implement them. Their research, combined with human creativity, became a powerful weapon. Across the galaxy, oppressed civilizations began to see humanity differently. Where the Krell had portrayed humans as a primitive, insignificant species, these communications revealed something else entirely. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were adaptive. Humans refused to accept the impossible. The communication network grew more complex daily. What had started as a few scattered signals became a web of resistance that spanned multiple star systems. Each civilization brought something unique. The Merkelli shared advanced fluid dynamics technologies. The silicon-based life forms provided insights into quantum communication that defied traditional understanding. Dr. Rodriguez discovered something even more profound. The Krell theory's seemingly invincible technological network had a fundamental flaw. It relied on a centralized communication system that assumed perfect control. Each conquered civilization had been systematically isolated, prevented from connecting with others. By bringing these civilizations together, humanity was doing something the Krell theory considered impossible. "We're not just fighting," Maya Chen explained during a multi-species communication briefing. "We're rebuilding connections." The Resistance developed a unique approach to collaboration. Instead of a traditional military hierarchy, they created a fluid network where each species could contribute their unique strengths. The Zornak's mathematical precision, the Mercalli's adaptive technologies, human creativity, and unpredictability. As the communication network expanded, something remarkable happened. Hope began to spread faster than the Krell theory invasion. Stories of resistance, of small victories, of unexpected breakthroughs traveled across quantum communication bands. Major Sarah Rodriguez looked at the expanding network with a sense of determination. The Krell theory had believed they could control the galaxy through technological superiority. They were about to learn a different lesson. Humanity had always been about connection, about finding strength in unexpected places, about turning isolation into collaboration. The real invasion was just beginning. And this time, humanity wasn't alone. The planning room was unlike any military strategy center in human history. Representatives from multiple galactic species huddled around a holographic display that shimmered with quantum-encrypted data. Major Sarah Rodriguez stood at the center, her presence radiating a calm determination that transcended traditional military leadership. "We're not going to fight their war," she explained to the assembled team. "We're going to fight our own way." The plan was as unconventional as the alliance itself. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor had discovered a critical vulnerability in the Krell theory's communication network, a central quantum relay system that coordinated their vast invasion fleet. Unlike traditional military targets, this network was more than just a communication hub. It was the nervous system of the entire invasion force. The Zornak crystalline strategists provided complex mathematical models that revealed the relay's structural weaknesses. Mercalli fluid dynamic specialists developed infiltration techniques that could bypass traditional defensive systems. Human teams brought something unique: the ability to introduce completely unpredictable variables. Michael Chen led a specialized infiltration unit comprised of humans and alien specialists. They had been training for weeks, developing techniques that defied conventional warfare. Where traditional military operations emphasized precision and structure, their approach celebrated chaos and adaptability. Their target was a massive Krell theory communication relay stationed in the outer regions of the solar system. Conventional wisdom suggested a direct assault would be suicide. The relay was protected by advanced quantum shielding, surrounded by a defensive network that could neutralize incoming threats before they came close. But humanity had never been good at following conventional wisdom. The first phase of the attack began with seemingly unrelated events. Across multiple star systems, resistance groups launched small, strategically insignificant attacks. To the Krell theory, these appeared to be desperate, scattered resistance movements. In reality, each attack was a carefully coordinated distraction. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had developed a unique quantum disruption algorithm. When applied simultaneously across multiple communication bands, it created a cascading interference pattern that would momentarily blind the Krell theory's detection systems. Maya Chen's communication network played a crucial role. What appeared to be random communication bursts were actually precisely timed quantum signal injections. Each transmission carried microscopic pieces of a larger infiltration protocol. The infiltration team approached the relay using a method that defied traditional stealth techniques. Instead of trying to hide, they made themselves impossible to predict. Their approach vector changed constantly, using gravitational assists and quantum manipulation techniques developed through their multi-species collaboration. Michael Chen's team included specialists from 3 different species. A Zornak mathematician calculated approach vectors that seemed to defy standard spatial logic. A Merkelly fluid intelligence specialist could modify the team's electromagnetic signature in real time. Human team members brought something even more valuable: the ability to make split-second creative decisions. As they approached the relay, the team's communication was a complex dance of quantum-encrypted signals and improvisational strategy. Traditional military communication relied on clear, structured commands. Their approach was more like a living, breathing organism, constantly adapting, constantly changing. The relay's defensive systems activated, but something was different. The targeting algorithms, designed to neutralize predictable threats, found themselves unable to lock onto the infiltration team. Each defensive action was met with a response that made no logical sense from the Krultheri's perspective. Dr. Kapoor watched from the command center, his fingers dancing across quantum interface displays. "We're not breaking their system," he muttered. "We're making it break itself." The final approach was a masterpiece of collaborative creativity. As defensive systems tried to track the infiltration team, they were simultaneously bombarded by quantum disruption signals, false communication patterns, and deliberate interference from multiple star systems. When the infiltration team finally reached the relay's central core, they didn't attack. They introduced something far more dangerous: pure, uncontrolled quantum uncertainty. The relay didn't collapse. It simply became uncertain. And in that moment of uncertainty, the entire Krultheri invasion network began to fracture. Humanity had discovered something profound. In the face of overwhelming technological superiority, creativity was the most powerful weapon in the universe. The quantum disruption spread like a cascading wave of uncertainty across the Krultheri invasion network. What had begun as a precise, controlled system now resembled a complex organism suffering a catastrophic neural breakdown. Major Sarah Rodriguez watched the holographic displays with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic intensity. "It's not about destroying their technology," Dr. Rajesh Kapoor explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's about making it lose faith in itself." The Krultheri leadership convened in their central command sphere, a massive crystalline structure that floated above the occupied sectors of Earth. Their communication networks were fragmenting, strategic projections becoming increasingly erratic. For the first time in their galactic history, the Krultheri faced an enemy they couldn't categorize, predict, or control. Maya Chen's communication network had become something far more than a resistance tool. It was a living, breathing intelligence network that spanned multiple star systems. Each small resistance group, each liberated planet, each moment of unexpected resistance contributed to a larger pattern of disruption. The final battle was nothing like traditional warfare. There were no massive fleet engagements, no ground combat in the conventional sense. Instead, it was a war fought at the quantum level, a conflict of information, adaptation, and fundamental understanding. Michael Chen led a special operations team that had been preparing for this moment. Comprised of humans and allied species, they understood something the Krultheri never could. True strength came from diversity, from the ability to adapt in ways that defied logical prediction. Their primary target was the Krultheri Central Command Sphere. But they weren't going to attack it. They were going to make it attack itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had discovered a fundamental flaw in the Krultheri's quantum communication network. Their system was built on absolute predictability, with each communication node expecting precise, predetermined inputs. Humanity's entire approach was built on doing the exact opposite. The infiltration began with a series of quantum signal injections that seemed completely random. To the Krultheri systems, these signals were impossible to interpret. They didn't follow any known pattern of communication, attack, or defense. Within the central command sphere, something extraordinary began to happen. The Krultheri's defensive systems started to respond to these impossible signals. Each attempt to neutralize the threat created more uncertainty, more complexity. It was like watching an immune system slowly destroy itself in response to an infection it couldn't understand. "We're not fighting them," Sarah Rodriguez explained to her team. We're helping them lose faith in their own capabilities. The allied species contributed unique capabilities. The Zornak provided mathematical models that introduced calculated uncertainty. The Mercalli contributed fluid dynamic strategies that could reshape communication pathways in real time. Humans brought something even more powerful, the ability to think completely outside any established system. As the quantum disruption spread, the Krelltheri invasion began to collapse from within. Entire fleet sections became isolated. Communication networks fragmented. Strategic coordination dissolved into chaos. What had seemed like an unstoppable invasion force now resembled a complex system experiencing complete systemic failure. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Maya Chen discovered that by introducing specific emotional resonance patterns into the quantum communication network, they could create cascading uncertainty. The Krelltheri had always viewed emotion as a weakness, a primitive response that had no place in their perfectly calculated existence. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Kapoor's team had been studying the nature of consciousness, of information, of communication. They understood that true intelligence wasn't about perfect calculation. It was about adaptation, about the ability to embrace uncertainty. The final moment came not with a massive explosion, but with a complete systemic collapse. The Krelltheri central command sphere began to fragment, its perfect crystalline structure dissolving into quantum uncertainty. Their invasion network, once the most sophisticated communication system in the known galaxy, simply ceased to function. Humanity had discovered something profound. In the face of overwhelming technological superiority, creativity was the most powerful weapon in the universe. The ability to embrace uncertainty, to find strength in diversity, to adapt in ways that defied logical prediction. These were the true markers of intelligent life. The invasion was over. But humanity's real journey was just beginning. The aftermath of the Krelltheri invasion was nothing like anyone had expected. Where other civilizations might have sought revenge or total domination, humanity proposed something radically different, a collaborative galactic reconstruction. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Reconstruction Council, a diverse assembly of species that just weeks ago had been isolated and oppressed. Her presentation was more than a strategic plan. It was a vision of interconnected potential. "We're not here to replace one system of control with another," she explained, her voice calm and resolute. "We're here to create something entirely new." The council chambers represented a remarkable transformation. Zornak crystalline representatives sat alongside fluid Mercalli delegates. Silicon-based life forms from the obsidian reaches communicated through complex holographic interfaces. Humans were just one voice among many, but a voice that had fundamentally changed the galactic dynamic. Maya Chen had been instrumental in developing the communication protocols that made this meeting possible. Her quantum communication network had evolved from a survival tool to the foundation of a new galactic understanding. Each species contributed their unique communication methods, creating a translation system that went beyond words. It captured intention, emotion, and collective potential. Major Sarah Rodriguez led the initial reconstruction efforts. Her approach was nothing like traditional military leadership. Instead of imposing order, she facilitated collaboration. Teams from different species worked together to address the massive infrastructure challenges left by the Krelltheri invasion. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor's research team discovered something extraordinary during the reconstruction efforts. The Krelltheri's technological systems, once viewed as a tool of oppression, could be repurposed. Their quantum communication networks, when approached with creativity and collaborative intelligence, could become a tool for unprecedented cooperation. The first major project was rebuilding communication infrastructure. But this wasn't about replacing old systems. It was about creating something entirely new. Each species contributed their unique technological approaches. The Zornak provided advanced mathematical modeling. The Mercalli offered fluid dynamic communication technologies. Humans brought their unparalleled ability to find unexpected solutions. Michael Chen led a special task force dedicated to technological integration. Their approach was revolutionary. Instead of trying to create a uniform system, they developed a flexible network that could adapt to different species' communication needs. It was less a technology and more a living, breathing collaborative intelligence. Liberated planets began to tell their stories. Civilizations that had been isolated for generations now found themselves part of a larger, more dynamic community. The Krell-Theory's strategy of division was systematically dismantled, replaced by a network of mutual support and shared potential. Educational exchange programs became a cornerstone of the reconstruction efforts. Young scientists, diplomats, and cultural specialists from different species began to learn from one another. Humanities universities became centers of galactic learning, places where traditional boundaries of knowledge were constantly challenged and expanded. The economic reconstruction was equally innovative. Instead of imposing a single economic model, the new Galactic Council developed a fluid system that could adapt to different species' unique economic structures. Trade became more than an exchange of resources. It was an exchange of ideas, of potential, of collective understanding. Dr. Rodriguez's research revealed the true depth of the Krell-Theory's technological oppression. Their systems had not just controlled communication, they had limited imagination itself. The reconstruction was about more than rebuilding infrastructure. It was about rediscovering the potential of collective intelligence. We're not just rebuilding, Maya Chen explained during a global broadcast. We're reimagining what's possible. The most profound changes happened in the smallest moments. A Zornak mathematician collaborating with a human engineer. A Merkili diplomat sharing cultural insights with a human researcher. Each interaction was a small revolution, a moment of mutual understanding that went beyond species, beyond technology, beyond previous limitations. Major Sarah Rodriguez looked out over the reconstruction efforts with a sense of hope she had never expected to feel. The invasion had been devastating, but it had revealed something profound about intelligent life. True strength wasn't about control. It was about connection, about the ability to embrace diversity, to learn, to grow. Humanity hadn't just survived the Krell-Theory invasion. They had transformed the very understanding of what intelligent life could be. The real journey was just beginning. 20 years after the Krell-Theory invasion, the galaxy had become unrecognizable. The transformation was not about human dominance, but about a fundamental reimagining of collective potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Collaborative Research Station, watching a fleet of ships from a dozen different species work together on an unprecedented planetary restoration project. Her granddaughter, Maya Chen Rodriguez, stood beside her, a living embodiment of the galactic collaboration humanity had helped create. It wasn't about winning, Elena explained, a familiar lesson she had shared countless times. It was about understanding. The Galactic Council had become something unprecedented, a truly collaborative governing body where no single species held absolute power. Decisions were made through complex quantum consensus algorithms developed by the combined intelligence of multiple civilizations. Humans played a crucial role, but not as rulers, as facilitators, as bridges between different ways of thinking. Dr. Rajesh Kapoor's Research Institute had become the center of a new kind of scientific exploration. Instead of competitive research, scientists from different species worked on collective problem-solving. The greatest challenges, climate restoration, interstellar communication, understanding the fundamental nature of consciousness, were approached as collaborative endeavors. Major Sarah Rodriguez now led the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, an organization that was nothing like traditional military or diplomatic structures. Their primary mission was not defense, but understanding. Teams were deliberately composed of members from different species, each bringing their unique perspectives to complex challenges. The economic systems that emerged were equally revolutionary. Traditional concepts of currency gave way to a more fluid exchange of knowledge, innovation, and collective potential. Resources were shared, challenges were addressed collectively, and the old paradigms of competition were replaced by collaborative problem-solving. Michael Chen's work on adaptive communication technologies had transformed how different species interacted. The quantum communication networks now function more like living ecosystems than rigid communication systems. Information flowed not just between individuals, but between entire collective intelligences. Liberated planets were rebuilding, but not in a uniform way. Each civilization was encouraged to develop according to its unique characteristics. The Zornak had transformed their crystalline societies into centers of mathematical innovation. The Mercalli had developed new ways of understanding fluid dynamic ecosystems. Humans continued to be praised for their ability to find unexpected solutions. Education had become a truly galactic endeavor. Young individuals from different species studied together, shared experiences, and developed a kind of collective intelligence that transcended individual biological limitations. Cultural exchange was no longer about tolerance, but about genuine mutual understanding. The most profound changes happened in the smallest moments. A young Zornak mathematician might collaborate with a human engineer on a complex problem. A Mercalli diplomat would share cultural insights with researchers from 3 different species. Each interaction was a small revolution, a moment of mutual understanding that went beyond previous limitations. Dr. Rodriguez reflected on the journey. The Krultheri invasion had been a catalyst, but not the cause of this transformation. Humanity's greatest contribution was not military might or technological superiority. It was the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. Maya Chen Rodriguez was working on a groundbreaking project, a comprehensive study of collective intelligence across different species. Her research suggested that true advancement came not from individual achievement, but from the ability to create meaningful connections. The Galactic Communication Network had evolved into something more than a communication system. It was a living, breathing collective intelligence. Information flowed not just as data, but as a complex interchange of ideas, emotions, and potential. Planets that had once been isolated now collaborated on challenges that no single species could solve alone. Climate restoration, energy generation, scientific exploration. These were now collective endeavors that celebrated diversity rather than seeking uniformity. "We didn't conquer the galaxy," Elena told her granddaughter. "We helped it understand itself." As the observation deck filled with representatives from different species, working together on complex holographic displays, it was clear that something fundamental had changed. The galaxy was no longer a place of conflict and competition. It had become a collaborative ecosystem of infinite potential. The Krultheri invasion had been a beginning, not an end. Humanity's greatest achievement was not winning a war, but showing that true strength comes from connection, from understanding, from the endless potential of collective intelligence. The real journey was continuing.